Hey guys, and welcome to Pheas Software. Today I'm going to do a disassembly on this Cybergun FN Herstal Scar L. Hey guys, and welcome back. If you do like this video content today, please do consider liking, commenting, subscribing, because those interactions help me get seen by the YouTube algorithms. That helps the channel to grow. If you want to support the channel a little bit more, the Linktree link down below in the description will take you to all my socials, including my Discord. Stop by and say hello. And if you want to support the channel at the highest level, the join button down below will take you to channel memberships. 99p a month, totally optional, really appreciated. Gets you custom videos, custom giveaways, your own separate live streams, and your own chat section in my Discord as well. So, thanks again to Pat, who has let me borrow this piece of kit to do a disassembly on. We're going to have a look at getting this apart. Now, I'm not 100% sure how this is going to come into pieces, so this is going to be a case of let's figure this out as we go along, sort of dealio here. So, I am hoping, largely speaking, that it shouldn't be too difficult to get out. So first thing I'm going to probably have to do is try and get this front assembly out here. So I'll put that back in. Now we're probably going to use a lot of Torx screws today on this disassembly, so I'll try and keep you abreast of the sizes that I'm using. So I'm guessing, wait, that is a Torx 10, so I'm just removing this first screw here, and that is a Torx 10. Now that's deep enough that that suggests it's gone through into the plastic underneath, into the black plastic. So I'm hoping this is going to be what we need. Now that still isn't coming out yet, so I'm guessing these two screws here, that is also a T10, but these are different screws to those two. So again, I'm just going to keep these in an order that I know I can trust. Ooh, running away. Now, will that come out now? No, it's still not coming out. Let's try if it's that one there. Taking that screw out as well from the top. Which, there we go. That's different again. That was Torx 10 as well. That's still not coming out. Now that appears to be attached to that. Is it that pin there? So I pull that pin out there. Still doesn't want to come out. Why don't you want to leave? Right, next thing I'm going to do is, let's have a look. Let's take these two back. Again, T10 again. Our good old friend Torx 10. Put them in a line, and if you notice, I'm keeping all of my screws in pairs, so I know roughly where they've come from front to back. Let's take that one off as well. At this rate, it's probably going to be easier to take that out the back. That is starting to come as well out the back. What could be holding that in place? That's wanting to separate. Now there is definitely movement there. Now am I going to have to remove more of these screws from these rails? That's not even a Torx 10, but that one is. Now, I'm going to put that there, flip that over. Oops, daisy, and I've just damaged my table and my mat. Oops. Sorry, Miss Pheas. I am definitely for it later. And still not wanting to go. What could be holding that in? I'm going to try this bolt in the back. That's bigger than that. Is it that big? So that is a Torx 15. So I've got a Torx 15 then in at the back there. see if that's the issue. Now, I would have expected that. No, it's definitely not that. Is it the one below it? That's also torque 15. Now, the stock assembly is bringing itself clean away. Now, the issue I've got here, let's get those out of the way, that out of the way, that out of the way, that one up there, you're up there. Right, now that came out there. Now is that because of that one? Now I suspect, no way is this going to be the way. Aha, there was a big long screw in the front of there. Is that the issue? No, that's still not the issue. Now, basically, it's caught in there, so I don't understand why that's not just lifting up and off. No way. I don't think it is it, but there are two screws down in there, which I'm just going to remove. I'm sure it can't possibly be those. So I've just removed two tiny little screws out. And it's definitely going better, but it's not. Wow, okay. It actually was the hop unit. The hop unit was retaining it, and it does actually separate after all that removal. Put that back around there, like that. After all that messing, it lay that down. It actually comes out more like an M4 where it just slides out the back. But what I had to do was remove the hop unit and just slide it a little bit to allow the assembly to come back out. So we'll look at that when I reassemble it. So all this extra gubbins I've been removing, I've effectively been just disassembling the back of this. Now, you have got an outer barrel, which you release that, this outer barrel assembly will just sort of come out. And there is our outer barrel, inner barrel even, assembly. Not a particularly long barrel, and that is our hop. I'll put our hop fully on. It has got some sort of, there we go. There we go. It has got some sort of split style hop unit there, hop rubber. Again, it was doing all right, possibly wants improving a little bit. So I'll slide that back in, and that literally just drops straight back in there, and that can stay like that. Now, a lot of this stuff I've removed basically just wasn't even needed to be removed. You know, all of this can sort of go back on and actually be of no consequence or issue whatsoever. But we'll look at that once we've looked in this section here. So the thing I've got to work on now is getting all of this wiring sorted. Now, awkwardly, the wiring comes weirdly in there and then down and then through here, which I sort of understand why they've done it, because they're sort of pinning it down. That we'll discuss shortly, but it's just one of those questionable decisions that you just kind of think, why? Right, let's open that up. One, This is probably going to be a pain. In fact, it already is. I don't know why I say it probably. It already is. So you can see there, look, the wires come down here and then feed through to the other side through via this mechanism here. So we've got a little bit more freedom now, so I should be able to pull that up a little bit. That gives me a little bit more room to get this out. Now obviously if I wanted to remove this, what I can do is I can pull the wiring back through, I can disconnect the spade connectors and I can pull this through. For the purpose of this, I'm just going to sort of leave it as is. I'm just going to make use of what I've got here and work with this. And so the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take the pistol grip off, which looks like it's Torx screws. Guessing smaller than that. So that's a 10. Let's try an 8. And an 8 it is. So we need a Torx 8 for the pistol grip. That's one. Again, just keep everything together so you know where it's come from. So I've lifted that up. There is my little plate. Do not lose that because you need that to sit under your motor adjustment plate. Pull my cables off. So the red comes up the back, goes onto the front. The black comes up the back and goes on at the back as well. So there is our very stock motor. And then we've got 2 screws down the pistol grip. Need a little bit chunkier screwdriver. Always make sure to use the right type of screwdriver because you don't want to round anything out. That's dropped straight back in there. Now the 2 screws that are down here, you got one at this corner and one at this corner here, which I will re-show you once we're reassembling. There's one screw has stayed in. Now be careful pulling these wires through. What you don't want to do is rip the connectors off the end. So just delicately feed them down and through using tools to prod them out if need be. There's 2 screws. Now, let's have a look. It looks like it should be the mag release, which I'm guessing is another Torx down. I'm guessing it's a Torx 6. It is a Torx 6 button right in the face of the button. So there was our little Torx 6 button. There's our spring there. There's our mag catch there, and it's not ambidextrous. It's just synthetically ambidextrous. I'm guessing now just the trigger pin, which comes out that way. So the trigger pin has got a mark. It's small on this side and bigger on this side. So I'm guessing I push like that, out it comes. Now that, and it does just lift up and out. So I am relatively pleased to see that is, oh, so is that a SEMA gearbox? Is it a SEMA blue gearbox? Wow, okay. So we've got, unfortunately, plastic bushings. You heard that right, that's plastic bushings. I've not seen those for a while. So, oops, daisy. So I'm just going to take out the Phillips head screws across the top first. That one's got a washer on it. I'm guessing they all have across the top. Another one. Yeah, all 4 of the ones across the top had O-rings on them. Oops. So when you're taking the screws out across the bottom, there are 2 types of screw. So the front one is that sort of head. And then this one's slightly different. These two are the same, they're a different one to that one. So those are, this has got a washer on it as well. Those are that style of head. This one that is in here may not necessarily need to come out, it needs a smaller screwdriver. Again, these are all posi head. Phillips head, so you got a much smaller one there. Come out there, switch back. Then you've got the same as the first one. Now, obviously, you'll be able to tell by looking at the holes that have come out to what type of screw goes into each location without any issues. So that's the last screw. So get that washer. I'm going to get a small screwdriver. I'm just going to put that in the hole in the back of the spring guide. I'm just going to hold it down whilst I pop that open, and we'll lift that up and out. So we've got there our non-linear spring. So I know it's non-linear because it's got a tighter coil in the middle and a tighter coil at the end. So generally speaking, when these go in the gearboxes, the tight coil at the end should go on your spring guide, which is just a plastic spring guide, and then another set in the middle. We've then got a, let's lift this assembly out. Come on. We've got our piston assembly. So we've got our air nozzle, which is just a clear plastic one. It's not the greatest. We've got a full plastic tooth piston. Let's check the compression. So what I'm looking for is, I'll take the nozzle off first, is that in the cylinder, as I'm pushing this in, now there is a bit of air leak around here, which is not, oops, I hope I've not missed most of that. So I'll show you that again. We've got a clear plastic air nozzle, which is not always the greatest of qualities. We've then got a cylinder, a vented cylinder. We've got our cylinder head, and then we've got our piston and piston head here. Now it's a plastic tooth piston, which is not amazing, but does okay in UK FPS limits. So I'm going to push this in. I'm looking for a good, now that does move easily. There is good pressure there, but this is just sliding in and out, and some of the air is escaping around the cylinder head, which is not ideal. So the piston head has got a good seal. The cylinder head is not amazing. The gear set looks standard. There does appear to have been some effort to shim it, because there are shims about. So some effort has been made. It's quite disappointing that they are plastic shims, I'll be honest. I was hoping for a little bit better than that. But it's a standard run-of-the-mill gearbox. You've got a standard stock trigger assembly there. The anti-reversal latch has jumped out of place. So the anti-reversal latch in this one, this is our anti-reversal latch, so it stops the gear set unwinding, and it needs to be in the right place, in the right orientation. So as you're looking down into the gearbox like this is the left hand side, this is the right hand side. It's going to stand up like that. The short little peg in the bottom of the gearbox, this bit in the top, and we've got a little spring here that sits on it and hooks around the arm there. Hopefully we're getting enough clarity there. So what this does is, this little arm sits against the side of the gearbox and pushes this latch into the way of this gear. We want this to be stuck on it, and that's exactly what we need. So I'm just going to drop that in as it is right now. Now the marking on that gear set there says that there is a little bit of poor shimming, because it's rubbing, it's rubbed a bit of a mark onto it. So that's possibly something to think about as a maintenance point of view, to have a look at the shimming to make sure that it's running nicer for longer. So I've assembled the air nozzle then, sits in the top of the tappet plate. This is our tappet plate here. I've hooked the spring onto the tappet plate here, and then I'm just going to drop this assembly. There's a pin here, which the other hoop of the spring drops onto. What I have realised is I need to wind the gear set back. There we go. And what I'm looking for is to drop the cylinder flush. I'm just rubbing my finger under there. I can feel that it's flush. This pinhole here matches this lug here. There's one on the underside as well. And I'm just going to drop that, push that pin down. It's nice and springy. That's all good. I'm just looking at sorting my wires out. So just getting the wires in the right position. Done. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull open and I'm going to push my finger down hard on the anti-reversal latch, and that stops it springing back. I would lift this up to the camera, but it's proving difficult because I've got a stock in there, and there goes the anti-reversal. Then I'm going to bring the spring in. I'm going to make sure that the piston is on its runner properly. Yeah, I'm going to bring the spring in. Okay, so I'm going to slide that spring in, and I'm going to compress that in. This is going to be the bane of your existence. Okay, so get that spring in then. I've locked the spring guide down. That goes into a notch at the back. What I'm doing is I'm keeping my finger on there. This is going to be an absolute pain because of the wires and the stock. So that's all gone down. You need to go into there, which is also a pain. Now I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to roll it on from the front, hoping that it latches in. I'm waiting for it to latch in. The wiring's already jumped. Anti-reversal latch is nearly going. Nope, there it goes. Right, so let's get the spring back out again. Come back in a minute when I'm a little bit calmer. Okay, so that's in. That's in. That's in. No. Fucking. Okay, so about 10 minutes of fighting with it, and I finally got it back together. It literally just about back together. Just need to check a few things. It's not gone quite. Oh, there we go. So what I'm looking for basically is that it's screw dropping out. Flush all the way around. I know where that screw come from, so it's gone flush all the way around. This is flush. That the piston should be on its track, which it is. And then basically that the anti-reversal latch is still in its place, which it is. And the wires have got that little bit of movement, which they have. So we are now all good to reassemble this. So I'm going to start with the screws. So I'm going to put the first screw in at the back that had a washer on. Again, I know where it came from, so because I've kept it in order. If the screw is difficult to screw in from the start, then you've gone in the wrong threads. So advice is to drop it in the hole, turn it back until it clicks like that, and then go forward. Next screw, got the little one to put in. There we go. Next screw. little tiny screw which goes in right there. There you go. You should be able to hear the little latch that it screws into moving when it's tight enough. It doesn't have to be fully secured down. Then we'll do the 4 across the top. Come on. Doesn't want to go home. Okay, so those are in now. Next thing to do then is we're going to look at dropping this back into the lower assembly. So we're just going to bring the gearbox back in. We're just going to feed those wires down through that lower. Nothing tactical or interesting in it there, or no tricks, literally just straight dropping it in. I'm going to make sure it's on the safe setting. And there we go. So what I'm looking for is that hole there should be lined up, and obviously I should be able to see the hoop for the mag release in there. What I'm going to do is the bolt release is just going to click in there, because if I don't do it now, it's not going back in at all. I can then bring the trigger pin back in, so I've got a thicker end and I've got a thinner end. That's just going to push through. Might have to just jiggle it about a little bit until you locate it properly. Or not. Is it down to the wires? No, there we go. Right, so put that back in. While the getting is good. There we go. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to wait until the motor's up. The thingy's on. It's not quite lined up. So what I'll do next is I'll get the pistol grip in first, and that'll, there goes the screw for that. I am not having a good day today. So feed the wires in. So the red comes in at the front, the black comes in at the back. Again, just be careful with them because they are delicate. We don't want to rag those connectors off. Wiggle it down. The wires should not be compressed under the pistol grip. They should nicely come inside it. Then I'm going to bring the 2 screws in that I need. So one at this bottom right hand corner in this orientation. And come on. I missed that. That's one. Then I bring the other one in. Again, to be fair, the gearbox casing's only got space for the 2 screws anyway. There's no other options other than the 2 places to screw it in. So I'm just going to screw that in. Now, what I've noticed now is that's been brought in line, so I can put that back in. That might just need tapping back in. Just take that off camera to finish. Okay, so I made a boo-boo and I just realised. So basically, the selector sits by default in single shot, and what I was finding is that it was misaligning things. So put the selector on single shot, then drop the gearbox in. Famous last words. Make sure those wires go in the middle there. Now it perfectly lines up. Now I can drop that through without any issues, literally no issues. Then click to save. I've now got what operating safe. Then I'm going to feed the pistol grip back up. Then I'm going to secure it back down now with its 2 screws. Finally getting there. Oh no. Oh, managed to get it in. Just remembered bolt. Make sure the bolt release goes back in. So let's go again for this screw. It's a lot of screws considering it's plastic. Right. Tighten that down. That's one. He's come back out again. Brilliant. Put that one in. Again, not too tight, just nipping it tight. Now the bolt release can go in. Again, I've just pulled slightly on the body just to flex it a little bit. Mag release, drops in that side. Flip that over. There's our button connecting through. Drop the spring on. The button has got one orientation. It is shaped to go only in one orientation. So if it's not dropping easily onto that thing, don't force it. I'm going to bring the T6 back in, and that's nicely going back in there. And that's in, and it's nice and free moving. I can feel that. Flip this back over again, and we're going to drop the motor in. So the red wire is going to go around the motor hole in the bottom of the pistol grip. So I don't know if you can see that well enough in there. Hopefully it just goes around and comes up the back. The red terminal is going to go to the front like that. So just check that the motor's free moving in there. I'm going to put the black terminal on at the back first. Again, this can be, if you're finding that the spade connectors come off the terminals too easily, you can just sort of use needle nose pliers to just nip them tighter a little bit. Not too tight that you can't get them on, but you want them to stay on and not be too loose. So now I've got these wires surrounding it like that. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to drop this little metal plate on top like that. I'm going to bring this base plate in and sit it on top of that little metal plate. Again, making sure I don't catch any wires. And I want to make sure that it will sit flush into the pistol grip, which is not quite doing. Oops. If the plate drops down, just chase it. There we go. Chase it with a pair of needle nose. Take that out a second. Not quite happy with how it's going in. Something doesn't quite feel right, so just gonna position it a little bit better. Something. Come back in a sec. Okay, so it was more just me being paranoid more than anything. So I've now got that in place, tightened down with the Torx 8 to tighten those down. So move them to the side like that. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at just feeding this back together. So these wires are going to come into there like that. That is going to secure into there like that. That plate there is going to secure those. This is really difficult, stood up and leaning over. So let's do it like that. So I'm trying to keep them in that corner there. There we go. So now I've got 3 screws, one of which is there, 2 are there, to secure this plate down and keep those wires. That's one. That's 2. That's 3. Okay, so bring that back up. What we're going to do now is this assembly then sits on the back there like this. Perfect. What we're going to do is there is a big meaty screw there that drops into there. I'm guessing we need a T-Tox 15. So that goes into the back of the spring guide. There we go, that's secured us down there. Now the other screw just seems to, it secures this through to this part. So I'll bring that back in and drop that in as well. Oops. Yes, I am immensely clumsy, but I'm also stood over a table, leaning over a table as well, trying to keep things on camera for you guys. There we go. There we go. That's that done. So actually, only that screw really needed to come out, and these just to loosen the wires off a little bit, which are all happy around there. That now can close. So we've got most of the stock on. Now what we've got is the rest of the assembly of everything else. So let's have a look. So I don't think we needed to remove anything other than the hop unit, which is there, it's 2 screws, and those 3 screws at the back, I think, were the only things that we needed to actually undo. So to test that, what we're going to do is we're going to reassemble everything else and see where that gets us. So we need a Tox 10 back. Seriously, wow, I am having a terrible day. Flip that side. Oh, yeah, that one. You can hear the plasticness of it now. It's becoming quite apparent with the noise. It's one side. Other side. Again, just lifting those screws back from the order I had them in and just dropping them in. 1. That is not the right screw for that. That is the right screw for that. There we go. It's better. That is not the screw for there. I think that's that screw. So I'll bring that back in. one long screw. There goes the barrel assembly. I'm having an absolute nightmare today. That's one. That's two. That's three. Right, okay, so now let's test my grand plan. Barrel assembly. Slide it in. Lower assembly. Slide it in. I need to hop around those, and it literally was, I was right. So basically, to get this out, there we go. So just had to jam my finger in the muzzle brake to push the hop back into the way of those two retaining screw lugs. So to get this out, you remove the 3 screws there, you drop the pin out, drop the 2 screws out, you push the hop forward like that, and then at that point, it will just wiggle loose and out, and it just twists away like that. So literally just, you can see that that's pushed all the way forward like that. So I'm just going to use that bloody button. There we go. So I'm just going to pop the body under there. I'm going to literally cup them into that, because that's solid. And then I flipped it over, and then if you watch, I've just put my finger down the outer barrel just to bring that into line with where it needs to be. And then I can just secure this all back down. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the 3 screws. Top one. That's top one secured. Side one. Again, if at any point it's difficult to get it into threads, then you're in the wrong place. And last but not least is just the hop unit. Put that back down. So we'll bring in this. This is going to be tricky because you're trying to do this down the magwell. So just put my finger lightly on the hop unit just to make sure it stays in place while I put the first screw in. That's the first one. The second one now, because the first one's in, is aligned. And there we go. So, last bit, feed the wiring back in. Bring the stock back in. I can figure out which way it goes. That's why, because you're in the way. Pin goes in. Mag in. And that's it. You are done and finished. Hope you've enjoyed that. I found it entirely frustrating, a little bit enjoyable. But we have now disassembled for repair and maintenance. I've just realised there's another body pin that I've not put back in. There's the other body pin. Push that back in. We're done for repairs and maintenance. The Cybergun FN Hersal Scar L. Please do remember to like, comment and subscribe. I will see you next time. Bye.